Okay, you're live. Welcome to our Monday Night Moshiach class. And we have a very exciting class this evening as we're preparing for the holiday of Shavuos. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol neh b'ro. Oops, forgot to bring the microphone over. Yeah, so we are preparing for the holiday of Shavuos. And we have a very exciting class this evening. Talk about that. Okay, the sikh was originally given on Erev Shavuos. Also on the second day of Shavuos, it's combined. Parshas Bamidbar, Tafshin Nun Aleph, 1991. Okay. Dai ber pa'amim rabois shenoisev l'toichen haklali sheyom tov shebo Shavuot kol hashanim. ישנם גם לומדים מיוחדים מהקביעות המיוחדת של היום טוב בשנה מסוימת, המדגישים ומהרים ומוספים כחוס לביצוע הלמד הכללי של היום טוב בכל השנים. Okay, and has been said many times recently, in addition to the general matter of a Yom Tov, that is basically every year we have a Yom Tov, a Jewish festival, and it's the same Yom Tov every year. On top of it, there's a specific learning that we must learn out from the way the Yom Tov falls in that particular year. And this is emphasized especially with additional powers that we have in order to learn about it in general and to every single year bring in the Yom Tov in a new way, right? You have the permanent aspect of the Yom Tov. Shavuos is always Shavuos. It's always on the 6th and 7th of Sivan. But at the same time, depending on what parsha it falls out in, what time of year, different things that are going on, there's a specific emphasis from year to year. And this year, there's a specific way that Shavuos falls out. It comes immediately after the day of Shabbat. It's interesting because this year that we're in our year that we're celebrating this year, it actually falls out on Shabbat. Shavuos is 2 days. It falls out on Yom Shishi and Yom Shabbat, Erev Shabbos and Shabbos. And so there's to say, Shavuot Hag Shavuos nasim gam b'tachas hashpa'a Yom HaShabbat Kodesh. And therefore, the service on the day of Shavuos, it also has an influence on Shabbat that comes before it. But Pacha ein b'nehem shum ha'pesach diyamei ha'voidim da'ho. Excuse me. And specifically, how there's no separation between Shabbat and the festival. There's no, what we say is ordinary day. It goes right from Shabbat into Shavuos. And then there's 3 days of holidays because you have Shabbat and then 2 days of Shavuos. Shabbat zohu gam Shabbat parshas b'midbar, parshas b'midbar. Kafiyos b'zeh kazeh macholechas gam b'kach shehayoyim harishayin dahag Shavuos hobiyim rishayin Shavuot. And we see that the first day of Shavuos in that year also was on the first day of the week. That's an alignment. And this is an example of God creating the world, and on the first day of creation, the first day of the week. We know in the Jewish calendar, the first day of the week is Sunday. That's called Yom Rishon. And the last day of the week is Shabbat. I already said that, and it's emphasized in the song of the day. The Hemshek lezeh boy miyad liyom hasheni shavua. The Achizah hag esrei hag v'yom hashli shavua. So then you have the 2 days of Shavuos, and then you have what's called Isra Hag, the day right after. Konenim ha'prata keshorim im ha'kaviyos al pi Torah shel hayamim tovim b'parshiyos b'Torah. And specifically, we see the connection with the way that it falls out, according to the holiday, connected to the parsha that you read that week. It's exact, divinely ordained. ומזה מובן שקביע זו, ההגה שבו שישנה הוראה מיוחדת המדגישה אוי ג'ייסר המנותנס, התוספס, כויכת גם המילוי כללוס, הכוונה יום טוב זה. And this way that it falls out, the Haggadah was, there is a specific teaching that is emphasized even more and gives us specific powers for this specific holiday. Okay. Base. Hashaychus, the Haggadah and the connection to the Haggadah Zaman, Matan Torah Seinu, the day that the Torah was given, Im Shabbat, with Shabbat, Kumudgash, Kumaimar Hazal, as our rabbis teach us. To cool the Alma, the Shabbos, not Torah Yisrael. We know that the Torah was actually given on Shabbos. And since all matters are precise, how much more so we have a general concept like the giving of the Torah. Torah with the Shabbos, Panemius. So the fact that the Torah was given on Shavuos, on Shabbos, there's a specific connection between Shavuos and Shabbos. How much more so this year in our calendar, when we already pointed out that Shavuos is actually going to be given on, is going to actually occur on Shabbos this year. And there is to explain something deep in this. Shabbos is connected to what we say is menucha. Menucha is similar to shalom. They both kind of mean the same thing. Shalom is peace. Menucha is kind of like calmness or resting. It's similar. Kamazal, as the rabbis teach us, Mahaya odam chaser menucha. That when God created the world, it was still restless. In 6 days of the week, the world was not calm. It was in a state of restlessness. Then Shabbat actually brought peace to the world. Without Shabbat, there would be no peace. Allah Shabbarachas HaMazayin to Shabbos, and we say in the blessing of bread on Shabbat, Harachaman Hu Yanchilenu L'Yom Shchul Shabbos Menucha Hailulami. And may the merciful one bring us to the day that is eternal Shabbos forever. Talking about the days of Moshiach. But this is also emphasized in the prayer we say in Mincha and Shabbos, Yom HaMenucha, Menucha Shalom, the day of rest and the day of peace. Menucha Shlema She'ata Rotzeh Mahashem. And this is a complete resting, if you will, and therefore it's the desire of Hashem. That's why it's so important for the Jewish people to keep Shabbat, because this is showing God's kingship, that we trust and believe that He's going to take care of us, and that we don't have to work on Shabbat, and we don't have to do anything today just to connect to Him. And through the peace in the world that is brought about through the completion of the giving the Torah, and the pasuk says, and it was evening, and it was day, and this was the 6th day, the Yom Hashishi. And the hay that precedes this, we learn out from this, and what it says from this, the hay is referring to Hashem. And what does it mean? Hashem made a condition to Noah with the world. And it goes like this, that if the Jewish people accept the Torah, I will continue to fulfill the world. If the Jewish people do not accept my Torah, I will turn the world to tohu and bohu, which is basically chaos and nothingness, if you will, destitute. Basically, return the world back to nothing before God created the world. And it will be a day of quiet. And this is one of the reasons why that the Torah was specifically given on Shabbat. Because just like Shabbat is the completion of the world and brings peace to the world, the same thing with giving of the Torah. The Torah brought peace and completion to the world, and therefore they are aligned together. And this brought about the completion because this is the one thing that was missing from Shabbat, just peace. Gimel. So now we're going to explain specifically why peace was brought about through Shabbat and giving of the Torah. Because the world is in a constant state of movement, of flux. Things don't stand still. They're constantly moving. And movements is the opposite of peace or settling, right? You're at peace, you're chilling. When you're running around, that's not peace. First of all, first, one of the things that changes all the time is time, right? Time doesn't stand still. Time, in fact, is the most precious commodity we have because it's gone, just like that. And we see time is constantly changing from the past to the present to the future. And it happens in the blink of an eye, right? As we're talking, it's the present, right? Before I say these words, then it's going to be the future. Once I start saying them, it's the present. But the second they come out of my mouth, it's already in the past. So it's a connection between these things, but nevertheless, they're different realities, right? Because as time goes further, the past goes further behind us, and the future gets further ahead, and the present is a fleeting moment. That every single thing in creation has no choice but to change in time, right? People age, right? My beard wasn't white like this a few years ago. We get older. Eventually we pass. Plants, animals. There's nothing in this world that is not affected by time. And therefore, time is one dimension of reality that is in a continuous state of flux, of movement. That time changes in general for the entire world, and at the same time, time changes for each one of us specifically. In addition to this, we see the dividing up of place, right? So one change that we constantly go through is time. Another one is place. Above and below, from place to place, again, opposite of peace. So it's every time we're in a place, we move to a new place, we have to change how we conduct ourselves. It's a change, right? Like you're sitting in rush hour traffic and everyone's honking and and then you walk into your house and you have to shift. You have to calm yourself. You have to be welcoming to your family, and then you go into work and you have to put on your work identification. And all the time, wherever we go from place to place, it affects us. When you travel, it's tiring, whether you're sitting or driving or in a plane or a train. Every time you're going, you're changing places. It's exhausting. And then throughout the day, as we just said, as you shift in your different roles that you encompass in this world, everyone has different roles that they encompass: family, friends, work, etc. You're kind of changing dimensions and changing the way you relate to others. Sometimes you literally have to change your clothes, right? Some people put on uniforms. All these changings take energy. They're draining. The more you have to change and shift, the more energy it takes and the more draining it is. So this is also the opposite of resting. Yom Shabbat haba menucha ba'olam. When Shabbat comes, we have peace. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to do anything. We're above time. That's why amongst Hasidim, it's a custom. We don't really wear watches on Shabbat because you're above time. And you're just connected to God. Because God created the world in 6 days. It's called and he completed his work that he did. He created the world and all the details of the world. And all these changes cause a division in time and place. Nevertheless, it was all created from the one God. And this is the general one intention of Hashem, that he created all the details of creation. And again, constant changes in time and place. And this brought peace to all of creation. Shabbat. Because Shabbat is bringing completion from above time. How do we know? Right? When in Israel, there's no such thing as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. No one calls those days those things. In fact, those days are connected to pagan gods and rituals. In Israel, you have Yom Rishon is the first day, Yom Sheni is the second day, and you continue on until you get to Yom Shishi, which is the sixth day. And after Yom Shishi, you have Shabbat. And after Shabbat, you start all over again. Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, and you continue this cycle. And you count through 6, but Shabbat you don't count 7. You don't call it Yom Shavi'i. It's always Shabbat. To show that it's above counting. It's above time. It's above this dimension of changing. Because when you get to Shabbat, everything's calm, peaceful. Then you start over your counting again, 1 through 6. And the completion of this concept of peace took place when we received the Torah. That the Yidden received the Torah from Hashem. Because it brought completion to the world. The ultimate completion to the world. Because it's the ultimate oneness that is achieved through Shabbat. And that is why God made a condition with creation, that if the Jewish people accept the Torah, he will continue to create the world. And if they do not, then he will no longer create the world. And the world will return to nothingness, because the world can't endure without this concept of peace. Right? If someone is constantly working and never rests, they're going to burn out. You need to have this concept of every week, peace. Remove yourself from the fray, if you will. Let's explain it further. According to, in the simplest explanations, according to the nature of a man, that when a person is not emphasizing, wait 1 second. ותחתית וחייב, אני נבראת לשם as koni, אין לו לכל יוס במלוכה ותיר shemitis. The Rebbe says a very powerful thing right now. That if someone's life is not built around, and it's not emphasizing the fact that I was only here to serve my Creator, in other words, God put me here for a purpose, and until I align myself with my godly purpose, the Rebbe said it's impossible to have true peace, because you always have this grinding going inside of trying to figure things out. What am I doing? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And no matter what you attain, it's never enough, because we have to shift our mindset from what I want to what does God want from me. That since every aspect of our life is in a constant details of changing of time and place, we're constantly in a place where there's not silence, where there's constant movement. דווקא כאשר הוא מרגיש את הכוונה ותכלית התמונה בכל פרטים, and specifically when we emphasize our intention and our will to our purpose in this world, this is how we come to peace. Because this is above for the movements and the changes and all the details of our life. And this brings about completion to us. And that we find in the state of completion even more when we come to the state of peace. We have calmness in our soul and calmness in our body. In other words, when we're aligned with Hashem and our divine purpose, and we're holding on to God, and He's holding on to us, and the world is shaking violently like it is right now, no matter what's going on outside of us, and this is a hard lesson to live by, we stay connected, and we feel that we're in this state of peace because God's holding on to us, and we're holding on to Hashem, and we know why we're here, and we know what our purpose is. And therefore, all the changes and the wildness that are going in the world don't really touch us, because we know we're living the life we have to live. This is why we're here. Even more than this, and this brings peace not only to the person himself, and but also all the matters to which he's connected to in the world. And then we have this completion, even more, and success in everything we do, because we bring this menucha, this peace, into everything we do. And when we bring peace into our lives, guess what? We bring peace into the world around us. And according to this, we can also see what it is, this connection to the Torah, because by us accepting the Torah, it brought about the ultimate completion in the world. Because the world was created for the sake of the Yidden and for the sake of the Torah. That the Jewish people received the Torah and the mitzvahs, and we obliged ourselves to fulfill them. And part of us receiving the Torah is also us to guide and instruct the nations of the world in the 7 mitzvahs that are incumbent upon them, the 7 laws of Noach. And by us fulfilling our 613 mitzvot, and by the nations of the world fulfilling their 7 mitzvot, we bring peace to the entire world, and we make a dwelling place for God below. There's the Hebrew word for keter, or crown, is 620 is the gematria of it. You have 613 mitzvot of the Jewish people, 7 mitzvot of the world in general. That's 620. God's kingship rules throughout the entire world, and there's peace in the entire world when, in fact, we all do our jobs. And this also draws down peace into all the details of our life, despite a constant change in time and place. And this is also connected to the piece of Shabbat. That it's the completion and blesses all the days of the week. The 6 days of creation. Because when we're busy during the week and working in the world, and then Shabbat comes, then it brings peace and blesses the upcoming week. Including all the details we deal with, we can bring peace into every aspect of our life that it teaches us. By entering this peace into all the details of our life, then we can live a life of what we say shlemut, completion. And how do we do that? God has to be the focal point. More specifically, Avodas Hashem, in our connection to serving of God. Shlemus havoda hi davka kasher b'kol prati avodas hayehudi nirgeshes nikuda achas v'yechida ani nivratzi et hashemesh eskani. And the Rebbe says like this, and more specifically, according to our service, there are many, many details and levels, but the completion of our service is specifically when all the details of our work are emphasized on one main point. I was only created to serve my master. That is the point. That's the hub. You have a wheel with a lot of spokes. Each one of those spokes is very important to make the wheel turn. You have your family, you have your wife, your kids, you have your parents, your relatives, you have your friends, you have your neighbors, you have your work, you have your hobbies, you have giving back to the community, you have other people you're helping. There's many aspects of our life. They're all spokes in the wheel. But that hub has to be God. And when God is at that central hub, everything else flows. The second we replace God and either take him out of the wheel, God forbid, or stick him in a spoke and put something else in the center of the wheel, it's going to keep breaking down. It's not meant for that. And we see this in fulfilling the mitzvot. That even though every mitzvah is specific and has a specific intention and a way of carrying it out, there's a general intention for all the mitzvot. All the mitzvahs, like the general bracha we say for all the mitzvahs, which is Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvosa v'tzivah, that you have sanctified us and made us holy and commanded us to fulfill your mitzvot. Because the general intention of every mitzvah is to connect to God. These are all different channels on how we do that. B'lashon HaMishnah, as the Mishnah says, that the general intent is to start our day with the will of our Father in heaven. It is the will of our Father in heaven, not the commandments of our Father in heaven. In other words, the commandments are the details. The main thing is that we're here to fulfill God's will. Mitzvot. They divide the mitzvahs into 630 details of how we connect to God. But again, the general idea is to serve Hashem. Lo tosifui, velo tigru. We don't add to them. We don't remove from them. And all the mitzvahs are divided into specific mitzvahs, so we should fulfill them. Mitzvahs. The mitzvahs that every single mitzvah has specific details, but this is not the case with the general will of our Father in heaven that is above all the details. He is the general will. That the general idea, without getting into all the details, is that we're here to fulfill the will of our Father in heaven. And there is not a change in this. The different mitzvah does not change the general intention and will. And therefore it says specifically to fulfill the will of your Father in heaven. And therefore the intention of all the mitzvahs circles around this one point. To fulfill the will of God. And afterwards it draws down to all the details of the mitzvot. And therefore, if you're in the middle of doing one mitzvah, you're not obligated to do another mitzvah. You're fulfilling the will of God. You're fulfilling it. You don't say, no, let me stop this one because this one's more important. The main thing is the general intention. And this is the general intention of all the mitzvot. Okay. Hey. And the general idea is to fulfill and emphasize the main mitzvah of the love of God. You shall love Hashem, your God, with all of your heart. That's the main idea. Excuse me. It's love that is in the heart. That the heart specifically is constantly boom, 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 pumping, right? Thank God, otherwise we wouldn't be alive. It pumps out the blood and pulls it back in all the time. And this is a general service of a yid where we talk about ratzu v'shoiv, running and returning. We run to Hashem, meaning our soul wants to expire. We really want to go back to heaven and be with God and not have to deal with all this aggravation in the world. But we come back and fulfill the mitzvahs because they're God's will. And therefore it says in the Sefer Yetzirah, if your heart runs, return to one. What does it mean? What does it mean, return to one? What does that sentence mean? It says in the Sefer Yetzirah, if your heart runs, return to one. So the Rebbe points out that the proper language it should say, to make sense, is if your heart runs, return, go back. What does it mean to one? It goes, come back. That the life force of going and returning, Adarabba, is referring to avoda shebelev kasher dafka in tenuah ratzav v'shuv. It's the service of the heart that is specifically connected to the movements of going and returning. And this is the idea that the life force of a person is through setting out the influence of blood from the hearts constantly to all the limbs. It pulsates from the heart and goes out to nuah to midis ratzei v'shoiv, and it constantly is in a state of going out and then returning. If God forbid the blood didn't flow out or didn't return, you got a big problem. That's what a heart attack's called. God forbid. And the going is for the sake of returning afterwards. And the idea is that we're constantly supposed to go higher and higher. In our service of Hashem, it's meant to be like a business. The general idea in a business is you want to improve. You don't want to stay the same, right? In any business, whether that's a financial business or whether that's the business of sports or entertainment, everyone wants to up their game. Like no one enters into a professional sports and says, I want to stay exactly where I am and I don't want to get better. I'm staying here. I have no desire to improve myself. No one does such a thing. No businessman says, you know what? I don't want my business to improve. Let's just keep it the same. We're constantly growing. And the same idea is our connection to God. For some reason, people view their connection to God as something that doesn't take work, or it's just natural and it's just supposed to be there. Yeah, God's there. It's a relationship. You got to work on it. And you got to continuously put more and more effort into it. And the more effort you put, the closer you get to Hashem, and the more he pulls away, and the more you got to keep going. It's a continuous state of movement. And after you go and return, you keep going higher. And continuing on. But this is not what it means to return to one. What does it mean? The general idea, as we just said, is you continually return and then go back higher. So why does the pasuk in the Sefer Yetzirah says go and return to one? What does that mean? To stop. And what is this one? It's to say that the ultimate completion of her service is that she could be done in a way of peace. Very hard to do when the pressure is on. And right now the pressure is on everybody. It's a hard time. Everyone I talk to, everyone I meet with is having a very challenging time. It's a hard time in the world. It's a hard time in our individual lives. I've had personally a very hard last few weeks. And it's very hard to continuously be calm and at peace when you're dealing with storms outside. Because the ultimate idea is that even if you're constantly moving, that you should stay in a state of peace. And this is specifically through emphasizing the will of God. The true will of Hashem. In all the details of whatever you do. And this is what it means when it says, if your heart runs, return to one. Because the ultimate returning is necessary not only to go to higher and higher levels, but rather to go to one. What is one? To fulfill the will of God. It's a very deep point the Rebbe is pointing out to us. He's basically saying that no matter what is going on in your life, and no matter how tumultuous it is, and how crazy things get, and how difficult life gets, if you're in a constant state of being pulled and run, and we all are, you have to pause a minute and return to one and say, why am I here? If I'm here to fulfill the will of God, and God is the one who's causing this change in scenery, right? Let me just, an example that popped in my head. Let's say you're an actor, and the director on the set, tells you, okay, I changed everything around. Now here's what I want you to do. I mean, to go here, run here, or whatever. Okay, maybe it's annoying. He changed their plan around. But at the end of the day, if your job is to follow the director's cue, and you know that he's the one who's guiding you, then okay, is that what you want me to do? Fine, okay, I'll do this. You want me to change it over here? Okay, I'll do it over there. It's the similar idea that when we constantly remind ourselves that we're here to serve God, that no matter where he sends us and how up and down and it's crazy and wild and it's good, it's bad, it's this and that, it's chaotic, when we stop and pause and return and say, okay, God, you're running the world. You sent me to the world. I'm here to fulfill your will. Let me work on being calm right now. Because if you send me to fulfill your will, breaking rocks or writing notes or in good times or bad times, it shouldn't change what's going on inside. Again, a high level to reach to, but this is what the Rebbe is telling us we're capable of. And therefore what happens is our hearts is not constantly being pulled in different directions because we're continuously working on fulfilling the will of the true one God. As the Alter Rebbe famously said, even if I was to chop wood all day long, I would praise you just the same, God. And then from this, we could draw down afterwards to this oneness in all the details of our service. And even throughout the movement of our heart of going and returning, we stay at peace and connected to the one God. Vav. And this causes the ultimate state of bittul, of self-nullification, of surrender to Hashem. Shuhu margish Hashem. And this is emphasizing all the existence that we should only be here to serve Hashem. The Shemesh Eskoni, I'm only here to serve my master. And specifically through the nullification as a servant to God, when you become a servant to the king, you become a king yourself, so to speak. Because you are now connected to the existence of the king. All the pasuk, and we see is explained by Hasidut, according to the pasuk, Tefillah ani. Ki and that I pray that I should be able to pray to Hashem like a poor person. Strange request, right? Pray to God like a poor person. To feel that ani, the idea of praying like a poor person, that we should become bittul. Because then we're praying in a total state of self-nullification, right? When God kind of runs you and runs you down, so to speak, you become a little bit humble, and you stand there before God, and in a simple way, you just want to connect to Hashem. When we see the difference between how a poor person prays to God and a rich person prays to God. A rich person is emphasizing his point in life. And he's able at times to request in certain things in the king in a revealed way. God help me with my business and my money and things like this. And according to this, the king, he finds himself outside the palace, if you will. He's outside the palace. And he's wearing many garments and things that cover over him. And the king has many servants and ministers and an army that's in front of him. But instead of connecting to the king, as you find himself in his room, in his simple sense. This is not the case of a poor person. That specifically we see that it's not to him in general, emphasizing the king as he's revealed. In other words, what he's going to do for you and how he's going to help you. Rather, he's praying the poor person to God himself. You're alone with God in his room as a simple servant of God. And through the general service of God is the prayer of a rich person. He's also focusing on all the different levels of God and how God has all these different manifestations according to Kabbalah, and all the spheros and all the different angels and all the different levels. The Esher spheros, the 10 spherot. And all the different details that you're looking up to reach to Hashem. Again, and the king's wearing many garments. The garments meaning all the ministering angels and all the sphirot and all the entities he created. The upper angels. There's infinite amounts of angels. God has thousands and tens of thousands of troops of angels that stand before him. To the point that you can't even count them. That's how many, angels and spiritual beings God has created. Or he requests even revelation to God in these different levels of love and of fear. Even his levels of love and fear are connected to these different levels of godly revelation. And it's not this concept of returning to the one God. It's focusing on all the different manifestations of God, if you will. HaKadosh Baruch Hu atzmo b'milo gam ein lo menucha b'shleimus kivan shaders etza chaluki hadarga shlemayim. And therefore he never reaches a state of peace because he never truly returns to the main focus, which is Hashem. Because in the end of the day, his main focus is always on his pocket and his business and all his entities and all the things he needs help with. And he's davening for this business and that business, and he's connected to all these different levels. And not that that's bad, but he's missing the simplicity of just realizing all that stuff is secondary. The main thing is God. And this is different from the prayer of a poor person, that he's standing in the total nullification as a simple, lowly person before God himself. And this causes his shiflot, his bittul, his self-nullification. He's not concerned with all the ministering angels and all the different levels and deals and things that are going on. He just simply connects to God in the most simplest sense. And therefore we say that we should pray to Hashem with the knowledge of a child. The child does not know about all these different Kabbalistic levels and different manifestation of God's names. You just know the existence of God. The very blessing essence of God. No description, no details. Just knows there's God. Yeah, sure. And specifically by reaching the state of total self-nullification as a servant to the king, then you can connect to the king and become, so to speak, like a king yourself. And afterwards, it reveals all the true levels and the wealth of Hashem. And all the gates open up. So, by focusing on the oneness of God and the simplicity of this oneness of God, then all the details and all the blessings will fall into place. When we focus on the details, we never get to the main thing, which is God himself. And we see this also by the Rashi Tevis, the letters that point out the Hebrew word of melech, mem lamed ches, which is moach lev kaved. Mem lamed chaf, which is moach lev kaved, which is head, heart, and liver. The three upper, middle, and lower aspects of us. Oh, my head is itching here. And the difference between the heart and the head is the head is cold. There's not this constant moving of going around. It's the opposite. Someone is at peace. Their head is quiet. Their thoughts aren't rushing and running. They're just The oimes zoy hale penua tamidois. The opposite of the heart that's constantly moving. But dakav that mizbatas chayav halev hashpa'ah hadam al haguf. It's specifically the movement of the heart that supplies blood to the whole body. Ba'al deragzeh hamida yishabalev and mipseim betenuad b'tshuka b'chinas ratzoi v'shoiv, and all the emotions that are connected to the heart that are constantly in a state of going and moving and changing. And through the service of his servants, Nasa Eved HaMelech Melech, that the servant of a king is like a king himself. Combining both of these things, Menucha HaMoach Hatuna Halev, the calmness of the head and the movement of the hearts. Menucha HaMoach Namshachas V'Hoderes Gam Hatunuas Halev, that this calmness of the head is drawn down and enters into the movement of the heart. And then you have what is called Moach Shlita Halev, that the head is able to control the hearts. So you don't run and desire after every single material thing that your eyes pop out of your head that you want. Even more than that, and the end in such a way that it is not in a way of controlling, but in the inner dimension. And the power to combine the head and the heart together is through bittul, self-nullification to God. That when you follow the will of the king, you connect to the will of the king and the essence of the king. Above even the division in the brain. And then you draw down the true power of calmness. With all your soul powers. To combine the movement of the calmness of the head with the movement of the heart. And this is hinted also in the liver, kaved, adam, where the blood congeals in one place. Zion. And the way to reveal the true essence of the king and to become a king yourself is become nullified to the king. And this is the whole point of the giving of the Torah, that we should reach bittul, self-nullification. But Ma'an Torah, was revealed that I am Hashem your God. The very essence of God was revealed. And now you should come to know that the ultimate idea of what is a Jew is that we're nullified. We're totally nullified to Hashem. That's why we received the Torah. And that's why we said, Nasa v'nishma. We will do first and we will understand after. It's the opposite of human nature. Human nature is, let me understand it, and then if I feel like it, I'll do it. Jesus says, no, I will do it, and afterwards I'll understand. That's what is the very nature of who we are. It's called lamayal letamdavas, adas, above what makes logical sense. And this is what it means that the angels came down, and every angel attached two crowns to every Jew, one for corresponding to doing and one corresponding to understanding. But pratisha, or more specifically, and according to another opinion, there's three crowns. That we then gave a crown to God. That through us becoming bittul and surrendering to God, and saying, God, first we will do, we got a crown. Then we will understand, we got a second crown. And now that we are servants of God, we're able to, third crown him. And then we could reach the very essence and being of God. And this arouses us and will draw down the very will of God. That when we fulfill God's will, it arouses him to fulfill our will. Down into this physical world. And it happened on the giving of the Torah, that we accept and receive God's kingship. One point of all the matters is accepting God's kingship. Prati mitzvahs, and then we got all the details of how to keep the mitzvahs, but the main thing is accepting God's kingship. And this is the idea, to start with the general point of total surrender to Hashem. And through the Torah itself, in addition to revealing the Torah from above, that God, Moshe went up to Har Sinai, he went up and brought the Torah down. And God spoke these words, and the reason that God descended, so to speak, from heaven to give Moshe the Torah is because the Torah is meant not to stay in heaven. It's for here, down here in this physical world. Based in Shlamata, and the whole idea is that the Torah should be interpreted and used as a tool down here in this physical world. As that everything is dependent on the situation in the world. And specifically to drive down the peace and the calmness of the Torah. Therefore, the Torah brought peace to the entire world. And from this we see that the power of the Torah was able to cause peace to the entire world, and bring forth the ultimate purpose of creation, which is peace. By the way, that's why there's such a mess in the world, because we don't have peace, because we forgot about God and the Torah. Yes. And according to this, we can start to begin to prepare ourselves for receiving the Torah. The and once we went out of Egypt, we then had to go for 49 days and rectify all 49 of our emotional attributes, from Chesed to Malchus. That's the counting of the Omer. Excuse me. The and after we counted the 49th, which is Malchus of Malchus, Takis a bittul tefillah ani, the ultimate bittul of the prayer like a poor person, hagia the yom hashchamishi. Then we reach the 50th day. Yudua sheba Malchus megi keter, and then we receive the crown keter. Ad penimis a keter, in the inner dimension of the keter. Defnei Hashem gilui deman Torah, and this was revealed in Man Torah. Anochi Hashem Elohecha, I am Hashem your God. And this is the ultimate, that God is our king. And therefore we receive the Torah through all the chain of creation, like the revealing of the deeds of the chariot. All Har Sinai, that God descended in his chariot, so to speak, and sat on his godly throne as he descended into Har Sinai to give the Torah to Moshe. And this is so the entire world should recognize and acknowledge the one God. Test. And this is emphasized even more in this year. Where the Torah was given on the first day of the week. As we said, every single Shabbat, it brings new peace to creation. Shabbat enters, and so does peace. B'kol Yom Rishon Chozrim Chodesh Haninim Shekaroi B'Yom Rishon L'Masa Bereshis, and then we start the whole cycle over again in the first day of the week. Brias Kol Edom Kulam Chadesh, and the whole creation is renewed, brand new every week. Bereshis Ba'adu Kimat Hashemayim V'Etzaretz, and God created the heaven and the earth. Es Hashemayim L'Yirois Hatoloi Sehem Ne'es Ha'arth L'Yirois L'Doiseh. Ba'al Dereg Zehu Gam B'Noiga the Matan Torah, and according to this is connected to the giving of the Torah. B'Zman Matan Torah Sena B'Kol Shana Niten HaTorah Mechadesh. Every single year we get the Torah brand new. Al Derek Kafi Shahiyah B'Matan Torah B'Pam Rishayna, and we get the Torah on a higher level than even the first time we got it, because everything elevates year by year, and even more than this, but even the Malach HaKadosh, and it becomes even holier. Ba'al Pizah move on Kasher Niknasim Hayashara B'Shabbos B'Zman Matan Torah Seinu. Bli Hefsek Avdin the Chol. Nimseim B'Hargash Shnei Leondim. In that year, again, there was no separation. We had Shabbos and went right into 2 days of Shavuos. Kevan Shekavana Ve'er Hagash Shavuos Yiva Shabbos. That since Erev Shavuos that year took place on Shabbat, on Motzi Shabbat, the end of Shabbat, Menucha was already in a state of peace. And therefore we already had the peace of Shabbat. Now we added on the peace of giving of the Torah. Secondly, since it was the first day of the week, it emphasizes also bringing down the peace into the world, because you're starting from the first day of the week, just like creation. And even more than that, that the unique thing that we find in the world of drawing down the uniqueness of the Torah, God looked into the Torah and created the world. But and that we see that by fulfilling this, it brought this newness of the Torah with the newness of creation into peace of all the world. Yud. According to this, we can understand Parshas Midbar Dafka, specifically why it occurred during Parshas Midbar in that year. Ma'an Torah Hayadafka B'Midbar. We know that Torah was given in the desert. We already spoke about that last week. Muvan she'ein zeh nikrei chas v'shalayim. And that wasn't by accident, God forbid. Everything is specifically God's will. Ela b'hashgacha pratis. Kivan she'leman Torah yesh shaychis im inin hadmidbar, because the giving of the Torah is connected to a desert, right? Yesh lamar echad haburim ezeh. One of the explanations is ba'oid gufa. We know that the world was missing peace. In the desert is not a place that someone can live. It's destitute. There's nothing there. And how much more so you can't be chilling in the desert. There's no water. It's very hot. There's nothing to eat. Nothing grows there. And this is the unique thing of the giving of the Torah, that it brought down peace, even to a place that is the complete opposite of peace, like the desert, where you can't be at peace there. How much more so does it bring peace to the entire world? The Haisif, in addition to the She'enin Zemudgash Gam B'Koach B'Taklis, Parshas B'Midbar, Parshas B'Midbar, Medubar, Oides, Minyan B'nai Yisrael B'Midbar Sinai, Minyan Kishor, Im Kaviois, V'Chivois, Devar, Minyan Eino Bit, that we see that is connected with, one second. In addition to this, emphasized also in the beginning of Parshas B'Midbar, explains over there the matter of counting the Jewish people in the desert Sinai, because this is connected with something permanent and settling. When you're counting something, it doesn't nullify it. But prat minyan b'nei shel shem b'toich hivotein the fun of menucha oisel l'sha, and God counted us because He loves us. Just like someone has a big thing of diamonds or money, they count. And this added on to this concept of making it permanent, that this peace should be in a permanent way. And specifically, he counted us in the desert, where a man cannot live or dwell. And the drawing down of the concept of peace into a place that is an opposite of place where you can rest. Okay, Yud Aleph. And as it comes to action, everything we said above, we have to bring it into a plan of action. That every single year we must receive the Torah in a brand new way, specifically down below, that adds on to bring peace into the world. And therefore it's necessary for each one of us to receive the Torah in a new way. Even in every single day, the Torah should be brand new for us. Like literally, right? That when we learn Torah, it shouldn't be like, oh, I already know this before. I already learned this. I already know what this is. No, excuse me. We have to remove that and literally like empty our vessel, so to speak, right? Pull our Yeshus out, ourself out, and give room for this new energy to come out. Literally, like it's brand new. How much more so in this year, when the Torah was given on the first day of the week, how much more so our year when it was given on, and it's on Shabbos this year. We must receive the Torah brand new and prepare for giving the Torah in this with this mindset. Because the Torah is the ultimate point of all of creation. And this will bring additional peace to every one of us in our service and bring peace to the world. And we'll also draw down this peace, this concept of peace, into all the details of everything we do, including the mitzvot. In all of our individual powers, in all of our work. Every single detail of the world will be infused with this peace of the Torah. And this is going to renew this brand new learning of the Torah. And by how we do it, we prepare for the giving of the Torah, specifically by learning Chassidus, which is what we're doing right now. And God will then bring our heart to a complete peace. And we'll be able to learn Torah in a way that we comprehend and it makes sense. But Pashtus, Kol Yehudi, Yosef, Chidush, and each one of us has the ability to find unique things in the Torah, in quantity and quality. Hey, Shiruim, Klalim, Shavim, Makal, had Nefesh, Kulam, Yuchad, Bismanim, Eda, Amiras, Priki, Alis, Bakal, Shabbatois, Shabbatot HaKaitz, and specifically also in the Shabbos months where we're learning Pirkei Avos every Shabbos. Uma toiv shlamdu mishnana echad be'inina bahava bahasaga, in a way we could grasp and understand it. Lachas kama v'kama be'ishira b'tamatorah hayaduim v'leim b'kol yoim eshir hachomish, and every day we need to learn the specific part of the Chomish that's connected to the daily portion, and the specific part of the Torah of the Tehillim and the Tanya that's called Chitas. All these three different things we have to learn. They're connected to the three shepherds that are connected to the Hag HaShavuos. Chumash is connected to Moshe Rabbeinu, who received the Torah in Sinai. Tehillim is connected to David HaMelech, who passed on at Tzeres, and Tanya is connected to the Baal Shem Tov, who is Hilula was also on Hag HaShavuos. In addition to this, we have to learn Rambam. Or b'sefer mitzvahs. The 3 perkim a day, or the 1 parak, or sefer hamitzvahs. Hein b'shirim hapratim b'kol chilek haTorah shalacha echad mechad b'kol echad lefum shel adel. In addition to this, each one of us must increase in our Torah learning and have certain shirim that we give, certain times we learn Torah, and we give shirs of Torah throughout the week in addition to the daily chitas we say. Yud Beis. The Indian zeh yesh lahatzia leorer leoleid oidos Indian noisef the parsam lahafsis Hiddush b'Torah. In addition to this, every one of us is obligated to find unique things in the Torah and publicize, use our own mind of what we think. Yudua sheyesh b'koycha shel kol Yehudi, and every one of us has the power to do such a thing. Not only that, we're obligated to do so. The Chadash b'Torah, to find unique things in the Torah. The Afshal, the Hashem, Psaktin, Ha'admar, Hazakin, Halachis, Talmud Torah. Chadesh, Chidush, Hakladus, Rebus, Lefi, Ruchav, Shiyesh, Beliboy, V'Yishav, that type. When you find unique things in the Torah, it will open up your hearts and in your mind, in your ability to comprehend more Torah. And every single one of us has a portion in the Torah. And you gave our portion to the Torah to us. And therefore we're obligated to find unique things in our portion of the Torah. In previous generations, they had to be very careful about publicizing things they found in the Torah. How much to find unique things in the Torah and to publicize it. Because it was a very dangerous thing back then, because there were only certain few people that were poskim that were able to give over Torah, and it could be confusing. When Haga but after many years and after the many details of Torah have become revealed, now each one of us has the ability and are obligated to find unique things in the Torah. צריכה אמנם הירוס יסירה כיוון שלא יכול אחד שכסו חידושי בתורה שכסו פסיקי דינם, like we just said. It was dangerous at previous times to give out, new things in the Torah, but not now. Now we specifically need these new aspects of the Torah that each one of us should find. The Rebbe says that even if what you're finding isn't exactly 100%, don't worry about it. You give it as your interpretation. You're not saying, I'm telling you this is Torah Sinai. My interpretation, here's what I found in it. It's okay. That it brings us to great pleasure and joy by learning the Torah. And how much more so when we find unique things in the Torah. And therefore it's important for us to find unique things in the Torah, as the Rebbe said, even if it's not 100% Emes Torah Sinai, and to give out our interpretations. Okay, Yud Gimel, last letter for an early finish. The Yiratzon may be God's will. That we must add on and find unique things in learning our Torah and prepare for the receiving of the Torah. And this will add on even more peace. Peace in the soul and peace in the body. By learning Torah. And it will bring health to our body and health to our souls. And peace to all the Jewish people in all places, including peace to the entire world. And bring us to true complete peace. Yom Kol Shabbat Lamim, where we have ultimate Shabbos forever. Bittul Hagalos the Bnei Israel and the exile will be nullified. Because the exile is the opposite of a time of peace. A bit of the galus that the worlds will no longer conceal over God, it will be nullified the concealment. This will all take place specifically with the revelation of Mashiach, and he will nullify the galus. And therefore, he will emphasize the true value of the soul. And the soul is above the exile, where our soul is not affected. And therefore, our soul always stays in a state of peace. But it will emphasize the true peace of the soul in the body when Mashiach comes. Because then it should happen immediately. Miyad is Rosh Hashanah's Moshe, Yisrael, Baal Shem Tov, David, Malcha, Mashiach, the three shepherds that are connected to the holiday of Shavuos. And it should happen literally immediately, but Gashmis for Choimris for Oidam, Mashiach's presence in this physical world, Choimrim, Gashmim, Kli Haruch, and that the physical world will literally become a proper vessel for the spirituality. And that it will elevate even the spirituality. That the very essence of God will be revealed in this physical world. Through the true and complete redemption from our righteous Redeemer, Mashiach, and it should happen in a very fast way. And Mashiach will come and redeem us. And we will all greet Mashiach with Shalom Aleichem. And he will say, Aleichem Shalom. Call Neshamas, call Bedor, Hagalas, Wahu, Mashabi, the call Echad with their face, Aleichem Shalom, and we'll all return Aleichem Shalom. Void who Ikar Miyad. The main thing is should happen immediately. We should be blessed as we prepare for the receiving of the Torah. We should receive the Torah Chadash Mitzi Teitzi, the new Torah coming out from God, the Torah of Mashiach. And we will see you in the Beis HaMikdash. And we will have the real, true Torah of Mashiach. Moshiach now.